Nobody's sitting here, right?
No, there isn't.
Best media.
Yeah, sure. This is a Lucy Wicks it certainly looks like it. All right, good on.
There is not. Yes, yes, they are. Yeah, you do that. It does.
There was colour flowing everywhere. That's good.
And I expressly asked him anyway, so and I've asked
well organized, has armed defenders, has crossed suburbs such as Terryville, Roca, Dorman, Roca, Watson, other Point Federate, Gosford, Berkeley Bay,
such a long road, so when you have the venue change, it's the same message, like,
I've got someone representing He's actually
Look at the midway. Oh yeah. Oh, you want to switch. That's so funny.
I think particularly at the moment, because even though with the virus and people
Better than me. We don't have enough time. I know where mine is. I know where mine is.
One day we'll have a set date.
Then it's a March 2027 roll on. We're so civilised. We're a little organised. We don't mess around at the same level.
Well, I would say good evening, but good afternoon. And thank you all very much for coming. Thank you for our leaders and aspiring leaders who've come. Thank you mostly to the community members. My name's David Abrahams. I'm the publisher and managing editor at Coast Community News, Central Coast.news, and the news announcer at Coast FM 963. I've been asked to moderate today, and that's the word, moderate. Now, there's a lot of energy in the room, and I know this, to me, as a publisher, is a fantastic opportunity that seldom comes around. The fact that the community initiated this through their own lived experience and have called on our leaders who have very quickly said yes to it. And the flavour of the day, as all of the panellists and speakers, is to listen to your lived experience and to listen to some of your questions and answer some of them. So this is a wonderful thing for our local democracy. Very seldom do we have a situation like this where we have so many community members connecting so directly with our leaders, our elected leaders and professional leaders. So once again, thank you for coming. The housekeeping is, of course, there are escape exits just behind here and further up here. Now, it might not just be fiery language, so if you do feel uncomfortable at any time, particularly if you do have a condition or something, please just pop out the back door. There are toilets out there on the left and right. Grab yourself a cold water and chill out, as it were. There will be opportunity, and I think it's very important to note, one-on-one opportunities after the event to talk to people. It's a big deal that people put faces to faces. So you will have an opportunity to mix with some of the councillors and elected members and others here afterwards as well. So if you miss out on a question, you can try and put that to me. As well, you're very welcome to talk to me and put a question. We can work about getting a quote in the newspaper for you. Very importantly, we have community leaders who pull things together. It doesn't happen that often these days. So Jo Coleman here and her co-conveners of the various notice boards, Facebook notice boards, have made this happen in a remarkable way. So well done, Joe. Thank you very much. I think we should all thank Joe for doing that. It's not her day job. It's not her day job to organise these events. They're very difficult. There's a lot of protocol involved in these things, particularly from state government, state and federal government. So Joe, I'm going to hand it over to you to welcome everybody.
Firstly, thank you everyone for coming. I'm really, really honoured to see so many people here. This started, my cousin and I actually went and seen Adam Crouch nearly a year ago when we started this, and then through admins from other various Facebook pages like Plateau, Corries, North Avoca, Gosford, who have I missed? Everyone, so we all kind of joined a little group together, all us admins. So then we started discussing the problems we could see in each area. And then we found that all of our areas are having the same problem. It's not just Terrigal. Whereas I'm Terrigal, so I'm very Terrigal minded. But it's not just us. We're no different. Like we've put videos together, photos together from different scenes, and we're seeing that there's one car that's involved that sometimes has Terrigal kids in it. Sometimes it has Plateau kids in it committing these crimes. And it's just, we felt that we had to get together as a community because there's so many issues happening at hand. Myself, I've been targeted. My house has been vandalised. I had pavers thrown through my window, my house window, my car window, and my daughter's car window just 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I had my house eaten. It was on Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, I sat in tears for the whole day, going, I'm going to give up. I'm going to stop this meeting. And then next day I wake up and I went, no, you're stronger than that. It's not only about you and your little skinny pants. Get off his backside and do something. And so that's when it went into full force. And so here we are today. There's many issues that I see. I want a proactive response and a reactive response. We need more youth services to stop these kids before they start on the wrong path. Or if they do go on the wrong path, set them on the straight. We also need reactive services. These kids who are too far gone, they don't, there's been kids that I've seen through the community, my little group, that have had 65 charges against them, and they're out on bail repeatedly. And they just go back out and do it again the next day. I've had conversations with police where they may get on curfew from 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. But the police are only allowed to check on them 2 nights a week. Like, how does that work? Like, I want us all to be safe. My big bugbear that I started, 2 years ago, that I wanted a Terrigal police station manned at night. We are the nightclub capital of the Central Coast. And, there's probably better if they had the police there from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. rather than 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Because, that's when most of this stuff happens, is at night. So I'm very, very proud to see everyone standing here today. I appreciate it all so much that you're all attending. And yes, and my other concern is I know for a fact that there has been a little bit of vigilante action going on in the Terrigal and North Avoca area. And that has to stop. It's going to be the wrong kid gets hurt or the wrong person ends up in jail. We've got to work together as a community to try and find solutions so we can stop this from happening. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
So I'd like to acknowledge some of our elected members and members of government. Yasmin Catley, the Minister for Police. Jason Wood, who's the Federal Shadow Minister for Community Services, Community Safety. Trent McWade. Trent. And anyway, Trent is just over the side. Trent is representing the Mayor, Laurie McKenna. Dr. Gordon Reid, just here. Adam Crouch, the member for Terrigal. Lucy Wicks, former member for Robertson, candidate for Robertson. Brendan Small, the Liberal candidate for Dobell. Brett Greentree, Police Assistant Commissioner of Youth Services. No is an apology. Thank you. Superintendent Daryl Jobson. At the end there. Kim McLaurie, the CEO of Regional Youth Support Services. Councillor Kyla Daniels. Is Kyla here? Didn't see her. No. Councillor Corinne Lamont. And Councillor Belinda Neal. So thank you all for coming. And Sharon Walsh, I beg you. Liesl Tesh at the end, I beg, sorry, Liesl. And Sharon, who's the head of the DV committee, and David Meehan, the member for the entrance. It's good that you can help me out, because we've got a running sheet. It's been coming and going. Thank you very much for coming. And more importantly, thanks very much for listening. I'm going to introduce the first, the second guest speaker in regard after Joe, is Superintendent Daryl Jobson. Daryl's going to say a few words. There's only one microphone today, so we'll be sharing that and hoping the battery lasts. Daryl.
Yeah, good afternoon everyone. As I've been introduced, Superintendent Daryl Jobson. I'm the Commander of Brisbane Water Police District, and thank you to the organisers for the opportunity to be here this afternoon, because this will be an important conversation, because I feel that there's a lot of gaps in information in community at the moment in relation to the youth crime issue, particularly what we're doing as police, but also working with other agencies. So we'll be able to fill those gaps for you this afternoon. I want to let you know about the data, because it's important that we look at the data, and that will set the context for our discussion this afternoon. I'll go through the crime. So being up front, there's going to be no spinning data. It's going to be the data. It's going to be the facts. That's what you're going to get from me. I'll let you know what we're doing as police and how your police are working for you. And I can guarantee you that they are working for you, and they're serving you well. We'll go through that. I'm going to go through some observations as well, look at some opportunities and challenges as well as we move forward. And this meeting here today, it's going to be about my command, the Brisbane Water Police District. We'll touch on a little bit of the Central Coast. It's important that we understand it is about Brisbane Water Police District. The genesis of this meeting has come from Terrigal and those surrounds, from those community sentiment which has come through, particularly on social media. So we'll go through that. So I think it's going to be a really good session today to go through what exactly is occurring and to look at what we can do. And from a police perspective, we always work with to achieve what we can. So it's really important, I stress from the outset, although we're up here and it sort of looks combative, you're there and we're here, but we've really got to stress the point, this is about us working together, because that's how we succeed when it comes to crime and public safety. So I'll leave that for now. A couple of housekeeping things. There may be some confusion, which I've picked up on social media, around the police district. We have the Central Coast LGA, and a bit unique, but we have two police districts within that one LGA. So we have the Brisbane Water Police District and the Tuggerah Lakes Police District. So for context, my district, the Brisbane Water Police District, basically runs from Foresters Beach all the way down to the Hawkesbury, follow the river up past around Kalnura, and come back down to Foresters. So that is a huge geographical area, okay? And the rest of the LGA is Tuggerah Lakes Police District. So obviously most people live on the eastern seaboard, and we get that. But it is a big area, so just need to work through that so we have a clear understanding. The other thing I picked up from the socials as well is, before I talk about the data, we need to be clear on definitions of what a break and enter is into a dwelling and what a robbery is. So I think I've seen them two intertwine, like that house was robbed, for example. So just to clear it up, in short, you break into a property, you rob a person. So break, property, rob, person. Now, if someone breaks into a house with a weapon, a knife for example, that then aggravates that robbery. And for the purposes of the law, if someone is convicted and they're armed, the penalty goes up higher. So that criminal behaviour gets into behaviour. Break into a property, we rob a person. Violence, fear to hand over property. So we're pretty happy with that sort of definition. Okay, thank you. This is very important that we're across it. Before I go into the data, and there is going to be a lot of data, and I am going to take my time with it because I need you to understand the context. But just more recently, there has been some stats that have been out there. I just want to clarify that some of it has been out of context. It's been said that over 660 housebreaking incidents have occurred across various suburbs in recent months. Just to clarify, NBN, I did a story with them the other week, you may have seen it, in relation to this very issue. And NBN reported that there were 660 breaking offences, or you might hear me call housebreaking, just to be very clear. Now that was over a 12-month period from October 2023 to September 2024. That was for the whole Central Coast LGA, Brisbane Water Police District and Tuggerah Lakes Police District. So just for context, because what I don't want to do, and that's from BOXAR, the Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research, it is a validated statistic which is available from BOXAR. So if we get the stats wrong, but don't want to cause any undue alarm in the community, but that's exactly what we don't want. So I just wanted to clarify that, if anyone may be aware of that statistic. Now, to understand where we are at the moment in relation to housebreaking offences, I want to take you back to 1999, 2000. And there is a method in my madness by taking you back that far. So, back around 2000, Y2K bug, the whole world was going to end, you might remember that. I don't know whether you have a sense of what the break-in enters were back then for houses, housebreaking. Does anyone have a sense of what they were at the time? Because I'm going to make a few points and some observations.
Insurance was cheap.
What's that?
Insurance was cheap.
There was, absolutely. No doubt it would have been. And you've got to remember too that we've had population increases as well. I'm not even going to go on that, but just take that in consideration. Back in 99-2000, again, this is BOXAR data. Brisbane Water Police District only, that's what I'm talking about, my district. There was 2,401 housebreaking incidents for that October of 99 to September of 2000. Fast forward to 2010, 2011, for that same period, the October to the September, 1,064. So we're starting to see the breaks coming down, as you'll hear me say. October 14 to September 15, 639. And in the more recent BOXAR data, because the BOXAR data is current up until September last year, from 23 to 24, that 12-month period, 342. So over the last 25 years, housebreaking has gone like that, which is a great result. So it's important that you know that, and I'll get to that shortly, the reason why I want you to know that. Now, let's bring it closer, the data. Now this isn't BOXAR data because BOXAR is only available up to September last year, and obviously it'll come online as we go. So this police district, we average about 25 to 30 housebreaking incidents per month. Now I know one's too many, but I can't promise zero crime. I simply can't do that. We live in a complex social system which is not perfect. And I have a job as a police officer because that social system is simply not perfect. And when things go wrong, you rely upon us to clean it up. That's our job, and that's what we do to work for you. So about one a day is the average. And again, in context, huge geographical area. So I think that's important that we know that. Now, if we look at the most recent 12 months, and I crunched these numbers on Friday. So from last Friday, 12 months before that, we had 300 housebreaking incidents in that 12 months. So we're still driving it down even more. The 12 months before that, there were 372. So that's to give you some context around what's happening locally, comparing the last 12 months to the 12 months before that. Now let's talk about the financial year. So from July last year up until the end of February, some interesting data around that. We had 197 breaking incidents. Now as police, we have what we call benchmarks, and we revise those every year. It's normally the 3-year average, and we revise our crime, and that's an aspirational target, so we're always trying to drive it down as far as we can. So where we are at the moment, we're at 197, our benchmark's 217, so we're actually 20 under our own benchmark. And again, we try to drive this as low as we possibly can, and I'll get to that a little bit later to tell you more about that. Now out of those 197, 32 of those were attempts. Now it's important you know that, because I'm going to talk to you about some community safety tips very shortly. But, and financially to date, 35 vehicles were stolen, and again, it's relevant for our discussions about when it comes to youth. So 35 vehicles were stolen out of 33 of those incidents. But in January, and I think the community felt it, we had 46 breaking or housebreaking incidents in January. So that was above that usual 25 to 30, and we felt it straight away, and as police we have to adapt and respond to it. Now unfortunately when it comes to investigations, we're not a 1 hour crime show. We don't have a crime, a middle, and by the end of the hour we're solved. You know, we're not that, it's not how it works. You know, we go through CCTV, we do canvassing, we do forensics, we do lots of things. And sometimes we can wrap something up very quickly, sometimes we don't wrap it up that quickly, it takes time. Sometimes we don't have the evidence or the evidentiary opportunities to solve all crimes. So again, context, it does take some time. But in January, we got onto this pretty quick, and we ended up charging 10 people for breaking offences. 6 of those were adults, and 4 of those were young persons. So come February, because we're able to jump on very quick, February's housebreaking number 17. So that's a great result, and that's just numbers alone indicates your police are working for you. Now, we know that behind it,
He went back to
and that might be the case. But let me assure you, when they're at school, when these break-ins are happening, it's normally overnight. So they may have gone back to school, but the facts are locking up the right people, taking them out of play, and when we do that, we can see some sudden drops in the crime. And that's what we've seen. March, check the number this morning before I come here, we're at 3 for the month. If we get to the end of the month, we're going to be about 12. Average 25 to 30, we're down. Okay, so again, I know numbers are the numbers, but behind every number, we are fully aware there is a victim of crime. So we take that very seriously. And to be quite frank, there's police that I work with that have been victims of crime, just like other people as well. So we're not immune from it. We work in the community. We go to work, we put the blue shirt on, and we do everything we can for you to keep you safe. So that's what we do. And what you've got on the Central Coast, and what I like about the Central Coast is there's lots of investment from youth services and other services. We all live and work here, and we want this place to be the best it can be. So we work really well together, and I'll get to that shortly. So looking at robberies, again, robbing a person, we average about 2 to 3 incidents. I'll go to most recent 12 months, up until Friday. We had 33, and of those 33, we've taken legal action in about 41%. So that's a pretty good turnover. Most of these crimes are opportunistic street level, so they're normally targeted type offences. And for the previous 12 months, we had 22, so we are actually up for the last 12 months. But we normally average about 2 to 3 robberies a month over the district, as you know it. It's a fairly large area. So for January, we had 3 robberies. February, we had 4. And for the current month of March, we're at 1. So we're heading in the right direction in that space. Now, it's important to know that you need to know what we're doing and how we go about doing what we do. So in early February, to focus on this in more detail, I started Strikeforce Connect. So that's looking at specifically focusing on this type of crime, the housebreaking crime. So we've got an experienced sergeant in charge of it, we've got detectives involved, I've got proactive crime team, and they're supported by some intelligence analysts. So they're focusing on this, and as you can see, we've already got some good results in relation to the data that I've just quoted you. Now, that's the response, that's the investigation side of it. But one of the most important things we do as police is to try and prevent crime from occurring in the first place. It's important that you know that as well, because prevention is obviously better than responding to something that's occurred. So, based on intelligence, we deploy our police into certain areas and locations, and we'll do that covertly, and we'll also do that police that are highly visible, depending on what we want to achieve out of those deployments. We have adults and young persons that are currently on bail, and bail's not a right, as far as I'm concerned. Bail's a privilege, and people should be privileged to be on bail, but we'll go and check on them to make sure they're compliant with their bail, okay? So, and if they're in breach of the bail, we'll take action. It's as simple as that. It's another strategy. We do a lot of work with youth at risk. and they may be actually offending as well. But the main thing around that is to work with other partners, other youth services. We've got Riz here today, we've got Pim McLaurie who will speak to you. It's about working together to try and divert these kids into other programs. And it's about behavioural change. Now, behavioural change is not easy, but that's our endeavour. And we're investing in these kids to divert them and try and make those kids to be the best people they can be. Now, it doesn't always work, we get that. And we have kids that cross the line and they go into this serious offending and they will end up before the courts. They will end up bail refused. They'll end up in juvenile detention on occasions, and that's where they will be until they go to court and run their cases. But there is a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes in relation to the youth space, and I sort of sense that that could be an information gap that we need to fill today, and I'm happy to fill that, and I'm glad Tim is here as well to talk about it. We've also introduced what we call YAMS. I'll say YAMS, it's Youth Action Meetings. So basically, these at-risk youth, or they could be offending, we have a meeting, we have all the youth stakeholders around the table. Appropriate youth will be referred to the meeting, and depending on who can offer what service, someone might say, I'll work with that child, okay? So I'll reach out to them. Now, sometimes they'll engage, sometimes they won't. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They have to engage and want to engage. But the ones that do, we're one step closer to getting that change. And we can work with them and divert and change them and put them on the right path. So we do have some success, and I'm sure Kim will talk about that. But we don't win every case. I can tell you that. Not every youth will come on board. That's just the facts. That's that imperfect social system that we all live in. So again, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's the way it is. We do have wins, and that's important. And if we can change one kid's life or many kids' lives, get them on the right trajectory, and there might be some people in this room today that may have been a bit of the road back in the day. It's about giving kids a second chance when they deserve it and when they take the opportunity. So we can't lose faith we can't lose faith in these kids. Okay, they cross the line, we take them to court. Otherwise, we'll deal with them as we can. Now, another thing you may be interested in, and again, it's not something we go out and advertise broadly. We're actually in the detention centres under Operation Community. So when we've got kids that are in DCJ facilities and they're about to be released back in the community once they've served their time, we're actually going in there, we're working with them. The cops are going into the detention centres. I've been up there myself, right? And I've seen the kids change. They come up, the positive engagements with the police is amazing. I've got them come up and hugging me. I've never met these kids before. And I go, okay, if we can hopefully make a difference so when they get out, they don't go into and lapse into their criminal ways, their criminal behaviour. So again, sometimes we don't have data on all this, whether we have the success or whether we don't. But I can tell you, we're bloody well trying, okay, to get into these centres. So again, that might be something you're not aware of, but we're always trying to be innovative and trying to look at different ways that we can actually change the behaviour of kids. And that's the importance of having this discussion here today. And you might have some ideas as well about how we can do that. Now, what can you do? And I'm going to say this, I'm going to get the message out, and it's backed by data. And I've seen on the socials that some people say that's victim shaming, asking people to lock their doors, asking the community to do that. I can guarantee you it is not victim shaming. When it comes to a crime, if you think of it as a triangle, you have a victim, you have an opportunity, and if you have an offender, you have a crime. You take away one of those elements, the crime can't occur. So what we're looking at, we're asking you to lock your houses, lock your cars, get into a routine where it's 9 PM when you're about to go to bed, or 10, whatever the case may be, go and do your checks, okay? Your car keys, don't leave them in obvious places, okay? Don't leave them where they're accessible, so the cars can be stolen. Now, the reason why I say that, and it's backed up by data, and I'll get this right, where am I? From the 197 incidents, 52 properties were confirmed that the dwellings were unlocked. Okay? So when we're giving you that community messaging around safety, it's got nothing to do with victim shaming. It's about asking community to help themselves, but to help the cops as well. All right? Because if we can prevent the crime, we don't have a crime, and that's what we don't want. So please take those messages on board. It's not meant to, victim shame. I've never heard that word before, but I did read it, and I thought, no, there's validity behind this because we actually want to work with you to prevent crime. So please take that message on board. We've got a really good audience here today, but if you share it with 10 people that you know, we have that multiplier effect, and all of a sudden we might have 1,000 people, and and out of that 1,000, there might be a third not locking their houses. Lock your houses, lock your car doors, watch where you put your keys. Now, challenges and opportunities. Let me just take a water if you don't mind. Like it or not, technology is great, technology is bad. And with technology, we have evolving criminal behaviour that influences criminal behaviour. Now, with some of these kids, social media is driving some of this offending because they get into the houses. They're like lay-person psychologists. They haven't gone to uni to become psychologists, but being what they are and knowing what they are and doing what they do, they know where you leave your keys. I call them lay-person psychologists. They just learned what people's behaviours are, and they know where your keys are. The reason why I can say that is because they find your keys. So that's why I'm saying do something positive with your keys so it's not obvious where you leave them. But then they film it, they drive out, they're filming it, they put it on social media, they get some sort of notoriety out of it. I don't get it. On your behalf, I know you don't get it either, but for some reason they get some notoriety out of it. But what we're seeing now, even though I told you back in 1999 to 2,401 instances of breaks in this district, and we're down to 197 at the moment. So we'll probably.
Those were youth crimes, youth breaks.
Look, I can't give you an exact number, and I'm not going to say. Most of the breaks with the cars, I would say it's highly likely that they're youth. Right, so I don't have all the data to say this amount of youth because we don't have CCTV, we don't have definitive information to say it is that amount of youth. But because of the type of offending, what they do, I'd say that where there's a car involved or where there's other evidence, it's highly likely it's going to be higher youth related. So you're on point. So as I said, I'm not here to sugarcoat it.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
comparing your 400 number to
Oh, yeah.
numbers of water.
Yeah, this is my point. This is where I was coming to before, to hang in there. So we've got crime going like that. We've got a proliferation of CCTV, which is great. Go to commercial outlet, get your thing, put it at your front door, get something more sophisticated. So we're capturing this, okay? Now, CCTV is not the deterrent it used to be, but it's a great evidentiary tool to capture the evidence. And we rely upon that heavily. So whether it's your place or someone else's, CCTV is absolutely fantastic. So we've got the numbers going down there, but we've got community visibility and awareness of crime, even though the numbers are so low, they're some of the lowest in 25 years, your visibility's gone on that. Crime is now more visible than ever to you because of CCTV availability and social media, right? And that's just an observation. I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent. That's just an observation. That's how I see it. So that's where we are with that. I'll just get back to my notes.
Can I just mention something?
Yeah.
Please? My concern with keys not being accessible to kids is that if they can't find my keys, they'll come and find me. That's my concern. So I'd rather they find my keys and just bugger off. Take my car, I don't care, and I've got cars. I'd rather they...
And that's
Can you repeat the question, please? We can't hear
Yeah,
you.
so the concern is from our community member is that she would prefer the keys be found rather than an individual going to find.
Because my concern is if they can't find the keys, they'll come and look for me.
Hold on that.
I was victim. They come into my house. My keys were hidden in it, wherever it was. But they came into the bedroom looking for the keys. So should I have left them near the front door?
Yes.
3 of them come through my house in my bedroom to get the keys. So we're all saying the same thing. If they're going to get in with knife and hammer, just leave your keys there. Take the car.
Yeah, and in Queensland they are, they're leaving the keys in the cars so they can.
Look, and I'm not going to impose my thoughts on you. If you feel that that's what you would prefer to do, then I'll go with what you would prefer to do. But the main point I've made before is we've got to lock doors.
Oh, we do, don't worry.
We've got to lock it. So we've got to get in those security routines to make sure we're locking up. Okay?
And my other concern is we have an adult disabled.
All right, so as I mentioned before, prevention is a huge issue. We need to invest more in prevention. That's where I think the difficult discussion is in terms of, well, what does it look like? How can we drive it down? How can we change behaviour? Okay, and how can we make it less attractive for these kids to feel that going in, getting cars and going driving and filming, that's a good thing? How do we change that behaviour? Now, I'm not standing up here with all the answers. I just want.
Can I just say one? Can I say something?
Can
I say something? Stop the younger parents telling their kids are just kids. Let kids be kids. The younger parents need to tell their kids.
I agree.
We'll get to that.
Kids can go to jail as well as adults.
We'll get to that. Sorry, ladies and gents, if I can just push on. Now, I do want to address Terrigal Police Station because I know it's topical. You may not like what I've got to say, but please, can you just take it on board and please accept the rationale that I'm putting behind what I'm about to say. Now, again, you need to understand our deployment model with our resourcing. We have an agreement in relation to our resourcing, which we speak to our local union about, and we look at our crime and we look at our data and we work out what cars we need to have on the road. Okay, and it's important about having the right amount of cars on the road. So, in this district, we basically deploy in the three sectors. We call it the Gosford sector, the Terrigal sector, and the Woodrow sector. So we'll have 3 cars start at 6 AM. We have other cars that come on at different times of the day. And at 6 PM, there's more cars that come on as the others go off. So they will deploy in those areas. Depending on where the jobs are, they will move around the whole district. Okay. So there are police out there. I mean, for example, we're here now. I've got one of my inspectors here. If he has to go, he'll go if there's a job on. So he's not necessarily coming from Gosford. Some people say, oh, but you've got to come from Gosford. You know what? Sometimes we may have to. Okay. Come out to Terrigal or go down the Woy, whatever the case may be. But a lot of the time, there might be police just around the corner. The thing about the police station, and I've done some data, I've looked at the data, the outputs from Terrigal. During winter, I did a dip sample of the whole month of July. We basically put 2 incidents on the computer per day. All right? Not a big number. In summer, I did January, peak summertime, there's about 1 thing going on the computer per day, which generates from Terrigal. I think what you really need to know is, and I don't know whether you think that a police officer is going to deploy by themselves to a violent brawl around the corner. I don't know whether you think that's what may happen. It won't happen. We have work and health and safety obligations to our officers. We have policies around that. And basically we'll have 2 up. So 2 cops will go to an incident. So they've got good communication, they've got the tools that they need, and they will go to that. If they need backup, they need more resources, there'll be more resources will go. But a police officer is not going to leave the station to go to that. Now, I don't know if there's any former cops in here today. Do I have any? All right. Now, those cops will know that you may, even at 2, you might be 2 up. You'll go to a brawl, or you go to a domestic violence incident, and they might be fighting each other, and all of a sudden, they turn on us. It does happen. So we're not going to send 1 cop out there. Okay, they're going to be too vulnerable. And I've got legal obligations to my staff, so that might be a bit of a misinformation about how it works. So assuming I was to put a night shift on, we do rosters over 6 weeks, so it's 42 shifts. So we'd have to roster someone in there for 42 shifts. That's 3 cops. That's 3 cops behind a desk that I can't put out on the street. So, and we've got to look at, we've got to reframe it. Every police car is a mobile police station. And I need the cops out on the street so they're responsive and they can move around. Because that individual, that sole officer working by themselves, they're not going to deploy by themselves. It's just not going to happen. It's not a safe thing to do because community, some people will turn on us. Okay? And I can't put people in that situation. So that's where we are around that. That's where I land on that. But I have heard your sentiment for quite some time, so I'm glad we've been able to have that conversation. I hope you accept what I'm saying, but I can't put cops behind the desk when they need to be out on the road. Okay? Can't do it. So I'm going to wrap up on that. It's been a really good conversation. Thank you for the opportunity. I really hope we continue to do our best to drive it down. The prevention is key, and being able to change the behaviour of some people that are involved in this ending, filming it, I think that's good. It's not good.
Can I just say, it's all very good that you're giving us all these statistics and the data and everything else, that's great.
Yep.
The people that are here wanted to know if the Terrigal Police Station was going to be manned after 8 p.m, which is when it needs. And you say you don't have the people, yet I'm sure everybody here has seen the breathalyzer tests outside the fire station on Terrigal Drive. When there's 5 and 6 police cars there, why can't somebody be down in Terrigal? Why can't there be people walking the beat? Why can't the presence of police be seen?
Speak to your colleague, Minister Matt, Yardley there. She's the
I'll
one that's
respond to ma'am, I'm going to hand it over.
I want to congratulate the police because the investigation they've done to my place has been amazing. It's the magistrate that's let it down.
Respond to that singular question. I have another question on something.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
All right, here we go. We've had a variety of questions. I'll let Daryl answer that specific question. We won't go to a question on the same issue. We'll go to another issue. So, Daryl.
Yeah, look, I think what you've highlighted is that as police we have many objectives. We have obviously public safety, and we also have a responsibility for road safety. So we will do those things. The fact that police are visible in the community, whether they're walking, whether they're driving, whether they're doing RPT, that has an impact. It has a positive impact around. I'm going to have to hand over.
Sorry.
I'm going to have
Can
to
I
stop.
just say one more thing?
No, I can't.
Questions later.
I apologise.
Now, yeah, I can see you, and I can see a lot of other people just next to you. Take a breath. First of all, I'd like to have a bit of applause, appreciation for. Thank you. Now, as I said, two questions. We do have other speakers who I think you'll find equally interesting. We did have one woman up the back there who's been standing there briefly, yes. Now, we only have one microphone, so stand up, I will repeat the question. We don't have a second one. We don't have, well, the club doesn't have a second one. So here, I'm coming up to you. Please ask your question.
It wasn't asking a question, it was a statement. Look, with all respect, police presence works, whether it's on the road or on the streets, it deters people. The whole thing is, with everything you were saying, you kept saying, we only have enough police officers, we only, more staff. That's what, basically, that's the crux of the problem. The root of the, we need more staff, and we need more staff, clearly, in shops, everywhere. You know, we need more staff.
Okay, I think we'll find that maybe addressed by our next week. However, do you have any comment to that specifically? Well, why don't you get it after? Why don't we go to one gen... Okay, here's the lottery of questions. There's a woman who's been had her hand up for some time. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a question for Daryl. I was attacked on the 22nd of January when I was training. I was obviously completely unprepared for it. A call was made on my behalf to the police. I wasn't the only person who was attacked that day. There were several women who were. It took numerous calls to the police station. Like I said, I went in and made a statement on the 22nd. My incident wasn't even logged until the 22nd of February. How can you say that the data that you're giving us is actually correct about what's happening in the community if our incidents aren't even being logged? Making the effort to go the right, to go the extra mile and get told by the police, well, they're only kids, so what do you want us to do about it? There is more happening there than I think that you're giving us credit for.
Would you like to say anything, Daryl, to that?
I'm happy to speak to you afterwards and get the details. Well, you might laugh, but I don't
It's not
know
his
the
fault
exact
though,
details.
guys, remember,
Okay,
there's
so-
always
So
someone
in fairness, I'd
involved.
like to have the conversation,
Working
that's
in
all right. But again, if I take on face value what you're saying, I'm not happy with that. Okay, so I'm not going to stand before you to say that I run a perfect organisation. I'll tell you what, we strive to do the best we can do. I'm not saying it's always going to be perfect, but we do the best we can do, and I need to have a chat to you, so I'd like to do that.
That's right, good on you.
Melody, I'll join you in that conversation about you, so I was involved with that as well.
Yes, thanks, Amanda, coming in. And please, it's not here to beat up the police. I was a police officer for nearly years and have been involved in my past career. All the things you've just pointed out to this audience today. And I just want to speak briefly. I reside on the Woy Woy Peninsula. There's 30, you see Leisure there. There's 38,000 people there. To say that I, as an ex-police officer, and a lot of our community down there, I'm involved with the local community bank, so I have a lot invested in there, and so does a lot of the people who live. For 38,000 people, and what you said there, not to have a number of police stationed there, it's fairly unique, Woy Woy. It's like a little mini city. And I don't want to go on the stats and that, but when I was working there, just to give you some context, in the 80s, we had 7 dedicated general duties police, 4 detectives, and a designated highway patrol. And when you have ownership, when you have police other than starting from Gosford, and it's not that we don't have ownership, we all have ownership, but when we lived there, pretty close, we probably could use a bit of a throwaway line from the police. We knew who was who in the zoo. So we knew what kids were doing, the break-in enters. We knew who we could look at. And it, as a model, it worked great. And I won't go on and on, but then, the model you're talking about, the community is us and the police are the community. And also, when I went to Hornsby, they had the community-based policing concept, 1989 to 96. Beat police, which I had 14 of them. We were visible, we were proactive, and we did touch on everything that you touched on, Commander, but just speaking from the Woy Woy Peninsula, and we certainly need a dedicated policing presence there, not just allocated in the morning and floating around. But I do commend the efforts of the police, and to all of you, you do have some tremendous police here on the Bridgewater District. They're doing a great job.
We'll take that as a point. We're going to move on to the Minister, Yasmin Catley. Yasmin Catley is the New South Wales Police Minister. Recall we're all New South Welsh people, and most of the laws we're talking about are, well, almost all of them we're talking about here are all state-based. So Yasmin Catley, she's a member for Swansea, just part of the Central Coast, a little bit of the Central Coast, and we're very pleased that you're our Police Minister. Yasmin, here we go.
Thanks, David. Thank you very much, everyone. It's lovely to see so many people out caring about safety in their community. I want to start though by thanking you, Daryl, and thanking your team. Note we have from the youth and as crime prevention officer, so thank you for being here as well. Please, amazing job, and I say person each and every. If you have triples and they will state the same response. And I understand what you're saying, well, not necessarily saying per se, but concern, you've expressed a concern about them not turning up quickly enough or not enough of them. I'll address it in a minute, but I say they prioritise their jobs. They prioritise the severity the issue that they're dealing with. Daryl talked about statistics of youth crime and break and enters here. Of motor vehicles. Statistics are down. Community, and that I'm sorry that you have to. It's a bit higher. It's higher than that. But that being said, it is a priority of our government to keep the community safe. Part of that, in my making sure the New South Wales Police are resourced fully. Now, I've made no secret of this whatsoever. We are more than 2,000 police short in New South Wales. That is a lot. It's not something that happened. Something. My recruitment police officer, and you can come back, we're looking to here and now. We are and police that we have. I want to do things we're doing because trainees. We've had more since that started in October 23, and in December class in Goulburn, a test. I'm going to pat myself on the back, stretch of the imagination, because we have natural attrition as well. So we have to make sure that we keep encouraging recruits. We implemented the big rise that police ever had in New South Wales. Now that is a retention piece because we have to pay them properly. They were the worst in the country. We also have a mobility program, and that's where police from right across the country and indeed in New Zealand come to a police officer at your rank up to senior constable. That is not the case in the past. It was you had to start from the very beginning, go to Goulburn and start from scratch again. But we've had, in our first round of that, which was only in October last year, we had 9 police come from other jurisdictions, and already this year we've had 51 people apply for that from other jurisdictions. So that's also attractive, and it means we're getting highly skilled police coming at quite senior levels, which is what we need. We talked about, there's another one. Be a cop in your hometown. That's another initiative that we've just put in place. The roadshow started 2 weeks ago down in Wagga. I was down there for the launch of that. That's where young people, or others for that matter, in fact there is a woman in Goulburn as we speak. She is a mother of 5 and she has joined the New South Wales Police because she's getting paid down there. She's going to be a very well paid police officer and she can go back to Coffs Harbour to be a cop in her hometown. So we're putting in place initiatives, thinking outside the square. If anyone's got any ideas, we're open to them, absolutely open to them. I'm not going to answer any questions at the moment. I'm going to finish what I want to say first, and then I'm more than happy to take all your questions. And we're putting in place innovative ideas to get cops on the ground. Now, this command, the Brisbane Water Command, is low on cops. That is a fact, we all know that. And yes, I agree with you. We do need proactive policing. But at the moment, what our police are doing is doing the day-to-day job that they have to do to keep the community safe, and as I say, in the way that they do with priority. Now, we do need those boots on the ground. We're going to be testing it's more than 300, more than 330 in May, and I know that this command will be getting a good number of police. I can't tell you exactly how many they are because they may not necessarily all attest. It's not a science. So it's important that you know that the government and me as the police minister are doing everything that we can to get more police. I just want you to put it in perspective though. We are in a climate of almost full employment. So we are competing as the police with everybody else. Someone said before we need more people everywhere, and that's true. It's because we are almost at full employment and it is difficult to get people, therefore you have to make your product the most attractive product. And that is exactly what I am concentrating on and will continue to concentrate on. To youth crime, youth crime is something that's happening right across our community, and particularly in our regional areas. And can I say to victims, you are absolutely entitled to feel the way that you do. There is nothing I could think of worse than being a victim and not feeling safe in your home or indeed in your community. And the police have therefore stood up a number of initiatives to address youth crime across the state. In our metropolitan areas, we've set up Operation Sweetnam, which is basically it's an operation to target specifically youth around stealing vehicles, or break and enter and stealing vehicles. They are the two crimes. They break and enter, steal the vehicle, then post and boast. That's what's going on. So Sweetnam is in the metropolitan area, and we've set up Mongoose in our regional area. Now we've had a significant number of that. 609 charges for Sweetnam with 5,218 offences. That's very good policing. And in Mongoose, we've had 827 charges with 8,094 offences. So our offenders offend on multiple times. So they're being arrested for a number of offences, number of multiple offences each. We have the police in these operations, so you know, if there is a significant event going on in a particular area. We heard earlier about January here, the significant increase in the number of break and enters. We will surge these operations into these areas. And that means Pol Air, the police dogs, the tactical squads. We will put whatever resources are required to come into these areas to let the community know and let the crooks know that we're watching them and arresting them. That this is happening across the state, and it's quite been very successful actually. In our regional areas, it's a lot more difficult because of the tyranny of distance, of course. And I say difficult, not for the police, but difficult to get, often to catch them. But nonetheless, the police are definitely catching the crooks out there, those young people out there as well. So as a response to this youth crime that we're seeing, the government recently introduced some legislation into the House, and can I say Adam Crouch, my colleague, is here, who has been fantastic in this space. We talk regularly, and Adam is certainly is in agreement that we work together to make sure we get the best outcomes for community, and I think that that's a real testament to us caring about our community and not playing politics, quite frankly. So yeah, it is here. He's a good guy, and I tell you what, I'm serious about this. And policing is not policing is not political. These people in the blue shirt, these amazing people, service the community. They don't care what your political stripes are, what your ethnicity is, what your religion is. They police for everybody, and every one of us must remember that. They don't come here with any political agenda. They come here because they care, and it's a job of honour, and they are incredibly honourable. So we made some changes to the bail laws, and that is that a young person who commits one of these crimes, break and enter, theft of a vehicle, and post and boast, that's where they take the photograph of going 210 kilometres down the M1, and it's true, seen it, and they boast that, they post that onto social media. We heard from Daryl talking to us about social media, and whilst it's a wonderful tool, it's also got a lot of evil, and unfortunately we see the evil side of it in this instance. So the magistrate must have a high degree of confidence that the offender won't offend again. So these are young offenders who are bailed, commit the offence again, then the magistrate has to have that high degree. Now, it is working. Sadly, I'll tell you it's working because we've got a very large number of youths in juvenile justice. So these are measures that, it's tough. You know, I didn't become a member of parliament to lock up kids. I don't think any one of us really want to do that. But the reality is, don't laugh, because the reality is we have no choice because there's nowhere else for them to go. And I'm so pleased that we do have our social services here, because they know, sadly, what we're facing, essentially. In addition to those laws that I just talked of, we're also piloting a bail accommodation service. And that's for young people who they can volunteer. Once they've been to court, they either go to jail or they can come to juvenile justice rather, or they can come into the government's bail accommodation service, where we've got wraparound services around them to try and prevent these kids from committing these offences again. Look, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know if it's going to work, but at the moment we're spending billions of dollars on services and we're still seeing what we're seeing, so we've got to try things. We've got to try things different. And that's exactly what the government is open to and what we're doing. We are putting in place different initiatives to try to address their youth crime. The other thing I want to say to you is we can't arrest our way out of this, and we can't have enough juvenile justice spaces to put these kids in. It wouldn't matter if you had an extraordinary amount. The reality is these kids mostly come from pretty bad backgrounds, pretty horrible situations, and they are spending all of their evenings out because home's horrible. Their home lives are just shocking. So this is a social problem that we are facing, all of us as a community, and the services that we need to wrap around some of these kids are extraordinary, and we really need to be thinking outside of the square to address what's going on here. Often, sadly, drugs are involved as well. I'm not suggesting that's all, but that is often the case as well, and their social situations are quite horrible, horrific, social situations that we wouldn't want our own children in, that's for sure. So it's, and as I've described to you, the domestic violence rate, often it can be from a family that's experiencing that, or indeed they're being sexually assaulted themselves. So it's horrible, but they are the true facts of what's going on in our community with, often with these young people that have been arrested. And in fact, I go to Daryl's point about data. Data is critically important if we use it properly. And it's often the case that you can see that these young people, once they've become a perpetrator, an offender, were actually identified as somebody who was a victim when they were at a very young age. So we need to be able to use that data to be able to identify these kids, and I know that people like yourself will work with us to do that, identify these kids at a young age and get some services in there then before they get to the point where they're meeting you down the street, Daryl. So there's a lot to do, no doubt about that. This problem is not a problem that's new. Youth crime of yesteryear was kids knocking stuff off at the shop, or, knocking off a car by, hot wiring it. Not that I ever know if that's true. Did they hot wire? But anyway, I could certainly clutch start one. I wouldn't know how to hot wire, but I could clutch start one. Now they're much more violent, as we've heard from a couple of victims, going into your home and into your bedroom. I mean, they're brazen. They're just at a much higher stake. So that's what's very worrying and very concerning. And I completely understand where you're coming from. In addition to that, it has also been mentioned by Daryl that we have our youth action meetings. We've put a significant amount of money into those. Here in the Brisbane Water, the youth action meetings are a group of very key players, community players that come together and look at the individual children, health, education, our services, obviously police-led, and they work a program out for each of these individual children. Speaking though, with Rochelle from the Yams here a couple of weeks ago, they're actually also now, which I think is fantastic, looking at their siblings. Because their siblings otherwise are little apprentices, so they're looking at their siblings as well. So this is good news, just preventing them, keeping them out of the juvenile justice system. So that's great as well. They're doing a great job. And I mean, no one of these things is going to be the silver bullet to stop crime, but accumulatively, the hope is, and certainly the will of the government is to stop the crime by a number of measures. We've also got our PCYCs, which are police-led with the Youth Command, and that's going into schools and doing a lot of that education in schools. Again, another preventative mechanism, which we're trying to get young people to see police as a role model instead of somebody who they want to run from, and develop relationships and mentoring and the like, and putting in programs around being fit, being healthy, making good decisions, and respecting community. So that's another one as well. So I think it's important for me to finish by saying definitely doing the recruitment piece, which will mean more boots on the ground, definitely doing the retention piece, which will mean keeping our very experienced, excellent police that we have here in New South Wales and here on the coast. But I think we have to admit that this is not just a policing problem. Police are at the wrong end of it. They're at the crisis end of it, unfortunately. We need to fix it at the front end. And that's a community problem that we all need to address and we all need to talk to. And I know that we'll hear from Reece and they'll be able to talk, I'm sure, say exactly the same and put some things in place for that. So thank you so much for listening.
A couple of questions.
Thank you, Minister. Excellent. A couple of questions. I know I've got a gentleman at the front from the Salvation Army.
My name's Ken Drury and I'm from Gosford Salvation Army. I go to these guys' base probably on an average can be 3 times a fortnight, sometimes can be 5 times a fortnight, and sometimes it's probably only once a fortnight. I deal with juveniles and adults, especially if the dogs can't want someone there just as support, they bring me in. The police are doing the right job. Let me reassure you. They are doing their best. Before I retired, I used to run a large tour company, and we had 15 coaches, and if I got a full load, we made a lot of money. Right? We used to, just in case you don't know, with coaches they do it on 15, so if they get more than that, they do really well. So yeah, but the problem is the system. I just heard the Commissioner and the system. These kids, I've been there and I've probably seen some kids between 5 and 20 times and they've been arrested for the same thing and they get conditional bail. These guys, you know, I used to get a full load, I'm more than happy about it, but these guys get a smack. They keep arresting the same person. I think it's got to be looked at from above and do something there. I haven't got the answer. I wish I did. Out of those, all the kids I've seen in the last 8 years, I know there's 6 kids that I've got on the straight and narrow, and I hope they're more. They've actually come to me when I've been over there in a fair or walking somewhere else. There is hope for them, but they need somebody to guide them. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Well, Ken, I've taken you through one of the significant legislative changes we've already made, and it is working, and we are open to more change. The Premier was in Moree recently, and he met a beautiful woman. She was 80, and she had been broken into just that evening. And it was the case that he went to visit her. She is a nun. She's a beautiful woman, and she had been broken into, so he went last month, so the end of February, in November as well. So we hear you, and we know that we know the facts because we get all the data, and we are open to more changes as we go. And we certainly know that we have the support of the opposition, and definitely Adam will be leading the charge there.
Okay, one more. So, going to the other side of the room.
I've heard a lot of talk about lack of resources in the police, and I accept that that's probably is true. That said, my wife and I, we spend a lot of time walking down the Terrigal Beach, down Terrigal Drive on a daily basis. We're both retired, so lucky us, we can do that. So my point is, when I walk down to Terrigal Beach with my wife most days, I see a lot of things, both within school hours and outside school hours, usually around youth. And within school hours, I guess that's another story, why aren't the kids in school? The thing with resources is, I see kids, as an example, on e-bikes, e-scooters, any time of the day or night, and I see them on multiple occasions on the wrong side of the road on Terrigal Drive, with or without helmets on. And I also see police cars drive straight past them and do nothing. Now, the police might be going to another job, I don't know, but the sirens aren't going, and they may be doing their patrols. But I guess I look at it this way, no matter how trivial the crime in inverted commas is, the thing you drive past is the thing you condone. So if you're a police officer, I would think the least you could do is you see a kid on an electric bike running a red light or on the wrong side of the road, I would have thought it would be a small thing to pull that kid in the line. I know police have discretionary powers, I get that, but if you condone a trivial crime, then the kid thinks, well, I can go through red lights on an e-scooter, I can drive without a helmet, I can be on the wrong side of the road, or maybe now I can break into a house, maybe now I can smash a window because they see no consequence of their behaviour.
Harold, back to just place to answer that.
Smile at them.
Well, when it comes to,
Smile at them.
look, the e-scooter issue is not an easy fix. I've actually had a meeting with council the other day just to talk about what we can do. One of the big things, there's probably a lack of information out there in relation to it. So education is going to be a huge piece. Now, when you look at it, how do these kids get the bikes?
Yep,
Someone's buying them, but they're not cheap. So some around Christmas time, for example, I know that some parents ring up and get the information, and when we tell them they're illegal, they go, okay, well, I'll go buy them. There's obviously some other parents, guardians that aren't doing that. So there's a massive education piece that we need to do. So again, prioritisations are key. I've been speaking to my highway patrol as well. It's something that's on their radar, but
we witnessed a highway patrol the other day smile at a kid going diagonally across the crossing. Smile at them. We watched it.
It's a big issue. It's an evolving issue. Again, we don't have all the answers yet on that issue. So I'll leave it at that for now.
But Joe wanted to say something. Joe?
I just wanted to reiterate on what Yasmin said earlier. As you know, I run the community page, and I am actually, I can't tell you how many times I've been shocked when people have actually messaged me, I had an attempted break-in last night. Did you report it? No, they didn't get into my house. I didn't want to, what's the point of it? The Bullwarra incident that happened a couple of weeks back with her in the pool, the police only found out because it was posted on Facebook. She didn't ring the police. I can't stress how important it is that on these incidents, people have to report it. Ring 000, ring PAL. They have to report these incidents, especially if you want changes.
And I don't agree with that community one where people
You like
their mates off them. They're friends of the police.
the Bill Laura thing, and again, we encourage and we'll say it ad nauseum, report. Okay? Yeah, so basically, if it's an emergency 000, otherwise ring Police Link on 131 444. But we need to know what's going on. It informs our intelligence system, it informs our tasking. Now, in relation to Bullwarra, you're absolutely right, Joe. I actually saw that, and I was aghast at what I saw. Okay, on behalf of the community. And I made sure that Kurt is up the back, and he's actually here on his annual leave. He wanted to be here today, so thank you, Kurt, for being here. Kurt went out there and spoke to the manager and pulled it all together. So out of that, we had 8 people who were taken legal action against. And I spoke to the manager recently, and from her perspective, she's not seeing as many of these youths around town as what she used to. But that was all about, and again to your point, about there's got to be consequences.
Yeah.
Now we can't do consequences for everything, but that in itself was an affront to the community. It's an affront to the ADF that run that site, and it was an affront to policing. So we jumped on that straight away, thanks to Kurt, and appropriate action's been taken. So.
Yeah, look, I can't back up those sentiments exactly, and Joe's right. On Friday, there was on the front page of the Newcastle Herald, there was a story about many incidents with bikes and scooters on the Fernley track. So I got on to the police over the last few months. So I got on to the police. It covers both Newcastle Area Command and Lake Macquarie Area Command. There had been one incident reported in 5 months. One. Even though it was reported, there were many. You know, if you don't report, they don't know what they don't know. That's the reality. So I can't express enough. Yeah, that's not true. That is not true. I can assure you that an operation was set up in the Fernley track with the correct operations that were required for that environment, which is quite a lot of bush, and they got the person who had perpetrated the crime. There were 2 of them, and their scooters were confiscated, and they are before the courts. So they do come and they do their job, and we're very, very lucky to have them.
One more. We do have other important speakers. One more. This lady here.
My concern is that who do you report to? Do you ring the local police station? Do you ring Triple O? I know is asked to be kept for emergency situations only. Do you ring PAL? Do you ring Crime Stoppers? We had an incident recently where we actually contacted the local police station and got nothing. We subsequently contacted PAL and had almost instant support. I think the public needs to be more clear as who do we ring, in what instance, to get the response that we need. Yep. Can that be sort of publicised a lot more?
Can I just say one thing?
No, I just want to finish. I just want to answer the question.
Can I just say, you're 100% right. That is an excellent question. 000 for emergency? Absolutely. Do not ring the police station. That is not what you're not going to ring. It's not like the old days, when everyone knew it. What you're saying, PAL, correct. Email as well if it's not an urgent matter. If you've got something, you can email Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers is the best calling point. As you know, they are located at Tuggerah, and they're an amazing group there. David and I went to visit them just late last year. But I'm working with Crime Stoppers to put in place an education program, because I couldn't agree with you more. And people are ringing their local cop station. They're saying, "Oh, they're not answering." Well, they might not answer because they're out working. So I can't express it enough. Excellent question.
Yeah, what we'll do is, can I encourage all, if you're not already, the Brisbane Water Police District, we have a Facebook page, so if you do have that, please follow us. Rachel, who's my crime prevention officer, regularly puts out these numbers. We'll get that out again, Rach, tomorrow, if you don't mind. And we'll reinforce those contact numbers, so they are out there. Also our New South Wales Police Force internet site, it's got all the numbers, and lots of tips around personal safety, around property safety as well. So there's a wealth of resources online, if I could orientate you to those sites to read, discover what's out there. There's a lot of resources out there for you.
I just wanted to say...
PAL is the Police Assistance Line, and Crime Stoppers is 1-800-333-000.
It's okay, I'm loud enough.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, within our homes, not that I have been invaded because I've got Roddies, but people that are, what law can we take upon ourselves without being in trouble over these youth if we're going to pin them or kick them out of our home when we're the ones that are being reprimanded for that? So that's what I'd like to know. What is it that these people can
Did everyone hear that?
to help themselves within their own homes without being...
The woman asked about protection in her own home.
Thank you for that. Look, I will tell you what the law is, but I think some of the points have been made from fellow community members about avoiding confrontations. I think that's key. I think
What if you can't avoid it?
I'll tell you what the law is, but I'm premising what I'm about to say with avoid confrontations. Okay, so please do that. The law is that you can use reasonable and proportionate force to protect the property. That is the law. Okay, but don't get at that stage if you can avoid it. Okay, but again, I appreciate there's victims here, and it really makes it real to hear their stories. Because every stat we know there's a victim. To hear your story makes it even more powerful. So we thank you for your stories. But please, if you can avoid getting those situations, prevention is always the way to go.
Okay, we're going to move on. That was excellent. Thank you both for such insightful information. I'm really saying thank you for them listening, and thank you for the questioners. I know there are other questioners out here. We're going to introduce Jason Wood. Jason's here briefly to have a chat. He's the Shadow Minister, Federal Shadow Minister for Community Safety. We did talk about what other jurisdictions can do, and you might keep it brief and say one or two words, Jason.
Well, thank you. Can I just say first of all to all the victims here tonight and all those who know victims, I'm feeling for you. I actually spent 18 years in the Victoria Police Force, so I got to deal with a lot of victims. For the lady who was assaulted running, for those who had people come into their house, there's a lot of trauma and it takes a long time to get over that trauma. My invitation here today was from Lucy, which really wanted me to hear from your community about what you're actually going through. I've been to a number of these forums right across the country. I also spent, as I said, 18 years in Victoria Police Force, from going to domestics, to burglaries, to the organised crime squad. So you may have heard of Alphonse Genzitano, I locked all those kind of guys up, and I was eventually in the counter-terrorism unit. But I must say the biggest difference when it comes to youth crime is twofold. In my day in the police force, if someone who maybe in their 40s or 50s told a group of young kids to pull their head in, they would pull their head in or run off.